All right, welcome everyone. It is 2 weeks since our last office hours, but it is Wednesday. It is 4:30 p.m. Central Time. Hey Andrew, how was vacation?
It was fantastic. A slight sunburn, so I'm coming back with a little bit of a tan after spending a few days in sunny California. Um, but it was fantastic. It is, you and I spend enough time together these days that it is bizarre to be away and not see each other for 2 weeks. And how was your vacation? I
It was
trust it went very
fantastic.
well.
Yeah, I went to Sweden to see the family. My daughter was turning, my oldest was turning 30, and I was told that if I did not show up, uh, I would not be much older than I am today. So,
Yes.
but it was great seeing everybody. It's been a while, so
Excellent.
yep.
How's real quick? How's the weather over there right now about this time of year?
Pretty much the same as Chicago, minus 10, 15 degrees, give
Okay.
or take. So a little bit cooler, but still nice summer. So not
Does it get
complaining.
does it get just as humid?
No, no, heck no.
Yeah.
It's a more dry air. Yeah.
That was the biggest difference out in California too. It was still 85, 86 every day, but very little humidity comparatively, and it was so much nicer.
Yeah. No thunderstorms, I guess. No, nothing.
Exactly. It was just sun the whole time. So,
All right. Yeah. So
what?
2 weeks, right?
And as it turns out, the community did not stop while we were on vacation.
Big shocker.
Yeah, exactly. So I did come across a few updates. I'm still sort of digesting these myself. I just got back last night. But I do have a few things that I came across that I think will be of interest to everybody. If you want to share my screen,
Coming up.
uh,
There
I
we
was
are.
I was afraid that you forgot how to use Restream at this after such a lengthy vacation.
No, it's pretty much after 2 years. It starts to. I'm almost there.
Little muscle memory.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. The first thing that I had here is the service release for Intune 2506. I'm not sure if we covered this before we left, but nevertheless, I was reviewing it again. Thought there were a couple of good things in here. Enterprise App Catalog app, so Microsoft's solution for third-party application patching essentially are now available in Autopilot, and you can add those in the blocking apps list for your enrollment status pages. So that one I wanted to highlight. For those of you managing Mac OS or iOS, there are a few new catalog settings for those operating systems. Similarly, same with Android. And then this one, I want to dig into a little bit more. So, Johan, if you hear anything about this or anybody else that's joining us as well, new reporting system for improved performance and data consistency. This one, uh, pretty interesting to me. So, according to this update here, it seems that we'll get faster report generation, reliability improved. And of course, this is something that we hear, we hear feedback on that Intune's reporting can be slow, can be a little bit confusing. So any reporting improvements, we try to keep a close eye on. Have you come across anything on this yet, Johan?
No, I just noted that like second paragraph there that they're starting to prioritize the compliance reports as well
Yeah,
as the device configuration reports, and I thought that was a good thing to
yeah,
start there.
absolutely agreed. So we'll keep an eye out on this. If I hear any more, or if you come across any more, we'll be sure to share that with everybody. Um, And then also, if you are using the hardware attestation reports, so just another reporting update, a new column showed up that shows the status, and it will also show some additional errors that might help troubleshooting if you are seeing issues there. So that's mostly what I wanted to call out for June's service release of Intune. I do know that we mentioned that early on in June, they did add ARM64 support for Win32 apps, which was a welcome change, but wanted to get to that first. In addition to that, I did come across a message that the in development page was also updated. So not only are we getting some updates that have actually been released, but some of the roadmap items have been updated. So one of them, I think we will find here. Laps for Mac OS is in development officially. So this is fantastic. Can't wait to see what they come out with here. As well as device cleanup rules. Here we go. So we can actually, what's in development is platform level targeting of device cleanup rules. So if your organization for some reason wants Windows devices to be cleaned up on a different schedule than iOS or Mac OS or Android devices, you can configure that here in the future. No timing or anything on these things, and there were a few other updates in this page. This is another area where Johan and I generally recommend to keep an eye on, both the what's new and so what's been released. I kind of look as this, I look at this documentation as what's been released, and this documentation to help prepare for things that are coming up. So definitely recommend bookmarking and reviewing these two regularly. Also, noticed that there was an update to the M365 Maps website from Aaron Dinage. This is a fantastic resource we've shared here on Office Hours many times that sort of helps try to make sense of Microsoft licensing, specifically around the M365 suite and all of its sub-licenses. One of the major updates for this month was the tenant storage calculator that was added in here. Microsoft has changed licensing recently to determine how pooled storage is allocated for your entire tenant. And so Aaron's tool here on M365 Maps can help you calculate what that will look like in your tenant, as well as several other updates and just minor changes to some of the licensing here. You can always find this information in the changelog. If you go to the main website here, m365maps.com, you can see all of the different licensing suites that you can compare. But if you go down here towards the bottom, you will see a changelog link, and you can always review that to see what's actually changed on the site. Fantastic resource. We use this pretty regularly. And then just a couple of blog posts I came across. One here from Eswar, exporting all of your Win32 apps with all properties using PowerShell. So if you want to document all of your Win32 apps, which would include, as you can see here on his list, all the install and uninstall command lines, any of the detection rules that you have out there. You can export all of these things and for documentation purposes. And he put together a nice quick script to help do that. And it is got his blog post here, but he also has it posted over on GitHub for any changes. And last but not least, a pretty clever solution that I came across here from Peter Klapvik. Not sure if you shared this originally, Johan, or if I came across it, but somehow I stumbled across the tweet over the last couple of days. And it was just a clever way to come up with deployment rings in Intune to help you gradually roll out updates to your organization. So basically a little bit of logic behind this to put together a percentage of devices that you have based on the device ID or the first character that the device ID starts with. Really cool post. If you do want to put together these types of rings in your organization, recommend checking this out, because this one might be worthwhile for you. And I think that was all I had for today, Johan. Oh, I think you are muted.
I think you are right. I did say thank you, sir, for
Of course.
for the news. I do have a couple of things. One is unfortunately a not good one at all. See if I can go ahead and share my screen here. But
Okay.
uh, both Wall Street Journal as well as my entire Twitter feed and Bloomberg and others reported a second round of layoffs for Microsoft today. So that is, of course, no fun at all for everyone involved. And if anyone of you are affected by this, and unfortunately we cannot hire you all, even probably wanted to, but we at least we can help out amplifying, retweet or whatnot, reshare posts, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever. We'll be happy to. So ping us if you need help. Let's see if I can get rid of that second screen also at the same time. There we go. So no fun, but again, let us know. More optimistic news. Same company is during my vacation. Jason Lesnick with Microsoft wrote a pretty nice blog post here on what's going on for Windows 11 25H2. Confirming that we've seen that before, but it will be an enablement package coming from 24H2. Of course, any early version will be a full in-place upgrade. But other than that, it's a good read, sharing a little bit information about what's upcoming here for 25H2. I also stumbled across a post from Jürgen Nilsson. I don't think you mentioned this previously. If you did, I'm sorry. But there are some changes Microsoft is doing by the end of July that may require you to update your scripts using for Microsoft Graph. So keep an eye on that one. And finally, Ugur Koc, who we showcased several times here on Office Towers, he announced that he'll be joining Glukania, one of the leading companies for basically consulting work or solutions around Intune. They've been around for many, many years doing this. Probably stumble across things from Oliver Kieselbach that works with them as well. But interesting to see, and of course, wishing you best of luck with your new company there, Ugur. So he says nothing changes, so we'll see. Hoping for new tools or more new tools coming up as part of that job change. All right. That was all I had in terms of news. We did announce at one point that if you have questions for office hours and you don't have time to join us, because especially for people in Europe, it's quite late right now. It's close to midnight, so I totally understand it. But we do offer on our academy, we have a technical forum. We call it the UA community. We have a couple of members there right now, 600 or so. But if you have any questions, by all means, put them there and we will bring them up here on office hours. And we had just such a question just before I headed out on my trip there. And that was regarding OUs in ConfigMgr sequences. So basically the idea was that, all right, I want to have machines joining different OUs depending on certain conditions. And there are a couple of ways of doing that. Well, many ways of doing that, but two are more commonly used than others. So I prepared a little demo for that just now before our session here. But if I go to one of my Windows 11 sequences, and normally OU's assignment is part of the apply network settings action. This is where you define and simply browse and pick an OU where you want machines to be joining. You specify which account that should join those devices in, but this is where you specify that OU. Now, one option, if you only need to select a couple of them, is, for example, to leverage a gather script that gets some extra information about the device. For example, if it's a laptop, desktop, or a server, as a good example. A very common script from Johan Scrivelius that figures that one out based on chassis types in WMI. But those variables are being set, and I can then use that to have different OU settings here. So I have basically made 2 copies of the apply network settings action. And this one, as you can see, is configured to use add them to the workstation's OU. You can zoom in here a little bit. So you see that one. And then I put a condition that says, all right, if desktop is true, then that value should be used. And if I go back to the other one, I have it configured for servers. So that will be the OU for servers. And I put a condition that says, if is server equals true, then that one should be used. So very, very simple way of, depending on some sort of criteria, use as a variable, having it apply different, OUs. And this is okay, I think, if you have like 2 or 3 of them. I usually get a little bit upset when I see organizations having like 50 of them with all sorts of different conditions. If you have that, I think it's better to have a script. So in this simplest way, you can have a little script that just sets that OU. It's a built-in variable, part of ConfigMgr. And then when you actually run that apply network step after the fact, that variable is going to be used instead. So then you can have a PowerShell script, figure out what OU it should be using depending on, whatever. So these are the 2 main recommendations we have regarding setting an OU dynamically. And I hope that answered that question in the forum. All right. So what other questions do we have?
Oh, we do have a couple coming in here. See some familiar names as well that were just giving us a greeting here at the beginning. So hello to everybody that joined. I did see Matt had a question here. Windows 11 25H2. Did you see that?
It depends. I did see the announcement from Jason there, but I haven't stumbled across anything else that kind of stood out. So I think I need a little bit more context.
I think the only thing that I had really seen that is supposed to be, check me on this so I'm not saying the wrong thing. This one is supposed to be an enablement package though, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was showcased in that blog post I shared earlier.
Yeah.
It could possibly be this one, thinking of it. Mia House, of course, has been playing around with the insider preview, which now has a policy to remove apps in Windows.
I liked this snarky start to his blog post in the about time category. In the it's about time category. It's true.
Yeah, it only took them 10 years. Barely.
Well, that's an exciting update.
If this one makes it into 25H2, fantastic. I would not be sad. Because not only do we get less junk in the OS, there will also be less to download on every month, every day, every other week. So looking forward to try that one out.
Yeah, fantastic. So Matthew has a comment and question, follow up, I believe, from a question a couple of weeks ago. We figured out why we're getting RPC unavailable when domain joined during OSD. We needed to allow ports 1024 through 5000. Aren't those ports for older versions of Windows?
Well, yes and no. They obviously are for older versions of Windows also, but they're still in use. These are all the dynamic ports that are being used, and that's been like that for a long time.
Yeah, there is. So it's interesting. There is a documentation or KB article that Microsoft maintains around firewall, and still, or firewall specifically for Active Directory, and still to this day, I've been working with it for quite some time, as have you, Johan, and I'm still a bit confused over which ports are really needed sometimes when it comes to domain controllers.
Do you have it up on your screen there?
I do. I was just going to say that.
All right, coming up right now.
So in this documentation, basically it starts out with, these are the ports you need, right? So you've got that 1024 through 5000 are going to be covered by this documentation here. And then the next section actually starts to specify Windows Server 2008 and later. Well, as far as I noticed here, there's no specification, right? There's an implication that these are for older versions of Windows. But then even still, you go down to this section, the Active Directory section here, and at least on the client side, you're going to have that large range. But up here, yeah, you can definitely see that we have many ports that need to be opened on the server side. But obviously, to your point, Matthew, that's not in this specific list, 1024 through 5000. But if that worked, yes, that is also, they are in this list. And while that's not a super clear answer, I'm just, kind of being honest on, it's never been super clear to me either. I open as few as I can, like I would for any application. And then there are some other areas here that also need to be opened. Generally, I would if needed. Also, double check the forest and domain functional level, see what those are at. But I'll share this documentation if it's helpful. Yeah, I see Matthew's follow-up here, security on my case about having all those ports allowed. I'm not surprised when you put in a firewall request to open up 20,000 ports. Yeah, you'll get some questions.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, been doing this for a while, and usually when you provide an official Microsoft documentation that these are the ports that are required for this specific service, usually you win that argument.
Yeah.
Because otherwise
absolutely.
they cannot use the service.
Yep. And Active Directory in a lot of organizations, generally pretty important to be able to use that.
Just a little bit, yeah.
All right. Great question, Matthew. We've got another one here from Jordan. I've got a custom third-party APK I need to install on some Kiosk devices. I've uploaded the app as an Intune line of business app and assigned it to a device group with 3 Kiosk devices assigned, and it's still refusing to install. Anything that I'm missing?
Nothing that comes to top of mind.
No, nothing here either. I'm generally not working with too many of the line of business apps. So I'm not much help there.
I'm also curious to what that third party is.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm laughing because it sounds like we put Kylo to sleep.
Yeah, he's snoring.
Made him take a nap, not. I phrased that incorrectly.
A little bit, but both dogs are sleeping next to me, so it could be any of them at this point.
I'm surprised this isn't keeping them awake.
No, they're not terribly interested in Intune.
No.
They have optimization, however, they are, but not Intune.
If we get a DO question, we'll make sure to let them know.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if this is okay. So Jordan just followed up for reference. I'm aware you might need a Google Dev account, but I believe setting it up as a line of business app bypasses this requirement. So the reference to a Google Dev account and now the APK, are you talking about Android kiosks, Jordan?
If that's the case, I can clearly say I wouldn't have any clue at all. I do not work with those devices one bit. I don't even own one. So, sorry.
No, same. All right.
By all means, we have a couple of folks in our forum that do. So put the question in there, and we can ping a couple of folks and see if they have any idea.
Yep. Okay. Jordan was just confirming, yes, that is the case. So, absolutely. Johan's recommendation, I would follow that, see if anybody has any suggestions. But unfortunately, same story here on managing Android. I've got nothing.
All right.
So Clive's got a question here. I enabled Autopatch for my tenant. I see all the groups that the enable Autopatch action creates, but I don't see the Windows Autopatch device registration group. Been over 24 hours. What am I missing here? So I'm not sure when the change happened. Maybe within the last year or so. But basically, Autopatch should create a couple of device groups at this point, as opposed to originally there was a group that was literally for registering devices into Autopatch. Now what happens is any of your Autopatch groups, let me see if I can find this here real quick. In here, so any of your groups that you have, so in my case, I enabled Autopatch a few years ago. I only have the Autopatch device registration group. But if you have other device groups in here now, add the devices to those groups and they will automatically be registered to the Autopatch service, is how it should be working now if you're enabling it for the first time. So give that a try, see if that helps, Clive. But this, I don't think you'll see necessarily anymore. Be interested to know if that is correct, though, as you get further along in your Autopatch journey, if you don't mind following up at some point. All right. Matthew is asking, does the primary site use ports 2701 and 3389? I know it says remote control. Does that actually need to be open?
Yeah, so that is there are two different, depending on what you pick. I can steal the screen and show.
Okay.
When I find it, I will do it. There we go.
There you go.
All right. So I was just checking my tenant as well, and I also have that single group. But if I go back to one of my site servers here, when you have a device and when remote control is enabled in ConfigMgr, it is not by default, but if you enable it, see if I have a couple of devices here that I can borrow. Yeah. When you right-click a device and you do start remote control on it, when you select this option here, this is when you use the ConfigMgr client remote control. And that one is leveraging 2701, that port. When you select this option here, remote desktop client, then that one will be using the regular 3389 that remote desktop always been using. So it depends on what you are using. Different ports are required, and if you want to have both available, of course, both needs to be opened on the client. But these ports are fairly well documented. Let's see, firewall ports. So port used for connections. So for example, if you search for 2701, this is where you will see that exact thing I was talking about, that function requires that port and it's from the console to the client. That one is actually a program, an executable that runs that ConfigMgr installs as part of the console setup. So, yeah, they need to be open, those ports.
All right. Thank you, sir. I see our friend Mike Terrell is joining us, and he mentioned that Mike Maribel did a blog post on update rings back in 2022. And I must say, if you want to share my screen, Johan.
Yes, sir, I do.
Quite a fan of the way that he themed this blog post. I think you might be as well.
Oh, yes, very much.
So thank you, Mike, for sharing that. This is fantastic. It sort of goes through similar thought process here and put together a PowerShell script to create these groups. I did notice it does look like so two different scripts, but I think they both looks like they rely on the older Azure AD PowerShell module. So may need a couple of updates here, but this is fantastic stuff as well. Definitely will be sharing this evening. So thanks for that, Mike. Thank you, Mike, for sharing Mike's blog.
Yeah. I think one thing that came out of Peter Klapvik's blog post on update rings that I actually did not know about was that you can have regex expressions in groups.
Yep.
That was pretty cool.
And he did actually add that to the blog post after that popped up on
Twitter, yeah.
Twitter, yep. No, that's fantastic, and a fantastic use of ChatGPT if you need to, if you want to do some regex.
Yeah.
All right. Saw a question here from Rick over on LinkedIn. You think MS layoffs are due to emerging AI or possibly a tariffs thing? The only thing that I've seen is that this latest round mostly is affecting the gaming division.
Yeah, I did saw a couple of games that were actually the development was discontinued for. So I'd also heard about the gaming division where we're taking the biggest hit,
Yeah.
but I don't have any more details.
No, I think for that stuff, and anyone's guess is as good as ours on why this is happening.
Yeah. But I mean, across every industry right now, there is a lot of AI development going on. There's a lot of AI coding. I think it was might have been the Salesforce CEO. I forgot his name. He's been around for a long time, but he basically said that a good chunk of their coding today is done through AI development. And I even heard similar things from other companies that AI is heavily involved in at least part of the development. So, yeah.
All right. So let's see. Oh, yeah, I did see this comment here and pulled up a post on it. I missed this issue. So if anyone doesn't know already, this is from Diz's Bear over on YouTube. If anyone doesn't know already, a June patch breaks DHCP on domain controllers. That's bad. So did come across this post over on Bleeping Computer that absolutely it sounds like that's happening, and basically affects server 16, 19, 22, and 25.
So pretty much everything that is even remotely supported.
Yep.
Yes. Have you seen if there has been a fix for it yet?
I have not seen anything. There's no updates on this post, at least.
Usually when there is a breaking change,
Yeah.
they are quite quick in fixing it.
Yeah, definitely. But even here, it's mentioned the June CU fixed authentication problems introduced in April security updates. So,
Yeah, I was just reading up on the official cumulative update documentation. Can toss that link in the chat. I think you just found it. Also, yeah, you found it. Yeah.
but I don't see. Do
Mentioned it
they?
as well.
They do mention that issue in here.
No, I thought it did because the search did. That was interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, one of the.
Oh yes,
other
if you
ones.
expand the ACP service, there's a known issues thing.
Let's see. Oh, okay. So I first clicked on the 2025 one, and it's not showing as a known issue, even though it's reported here.
Yeah, but
If I
you
click on the
yeah,
if I click on 22,
that's the one.
so working on a resolution, but no updates other than that yet.
Well, it's pretty soon. Not just 4th of July over here, but it's also Patch Tuesday coming up soon. So one can hope they had fixed it.
Let's hope you don't want your DHCP server service stopping on you. That's for sure.
That's kind of useful.
All right. Question here from Amir over on YouTube. Looks like the full device inventory export from Intune skips over the total physical memory details. I can see that info under the hardware tab, but it's not showing up in the export. Any idea how we might get that added to our report? So if it's there but not showing up in the details, unless you have a better idea, Johan, I would probably report that as maybe a bug or a feature request. But yeah, I have noticed that has been a point of frustration sometimes when you're looking at something in the UI and Intune, and you go to export that information. What you get in the export is different. And that's been my experience across a lot of the UI in the admin center. Anything you'd like to add on that?
No, I mean see if it's available through Graph, perhaps, to get the data from there. But otherwise, file a bug, because that is obviously a bug.
All right. So Dan is asking, what's the best way to troubleshoot client settings not being applied? In particular, the computer restart custom client setting isn't being applied. It applies the config from the default client setting. Reinstalling the CM client fixes the issue, but it's currently impacting multiple devices.
I mean, the support center tool is a pretty good one to start with, I think. I can share my screen here. So probably not that one. But if you have a ConfigMgr client, you can borrow this one here. I was doing some testing earlier. Let's see. So this one, starting with ConfigMgr 1802 or something like that, on your site server, when you go to your site share that gets installed or shared automatically, in the tools section, you have the support center tool. This used to be a separate download, and since forever it's been part of, or a couple of years it's been part of the install. When you run that one, you have the ability to peeking into policies in a nice looking UI. So you can actually load the actual policy and start to poke around with the different profiles and the machine policy itself, and try to figure out what the settings are. There are also options here to go ahead and reset policies, which could possibly fix the problem as well, eliminating the need to reinstall in the client. I usually see this one as a last resort, because it takes like half an hour for it comes back online again, but it might be quicker than having to reinstall in the client. So maybe something like that could be helpful. But what client setting was it?
The computer restart client settings.
Yeah, nothing I've stumbled across. But yeah, maybe that.
All right. Matt's asking, as long as we're talking about Autopatch, why do I have many of my test VMs stuck on 23H2 and not getting 24H2?
Autopatch is also using the feature update policy. It's also depending on the deployment service, and it also depending on upgrade experience indicators being happy and device actually receiving the policy. So it falls back to Rudy's post a while back. He did an excellent job on troubleshooting that feature update policy. We have shared it a couple of times here on office hours. Let's see if I can find the link again here. Yeah. You call it the Windows Update feature or deep dive here. So this one would be a start, I think. This one goes through what you can look for, etc. on the client.
And yeah, an extension of what you mentioned, Johan. Rick said here in the chat, maybe a TPM setting or a processor setting. I've seen that on a couple of my older lab machines that, and you've talked about this as well, Johan. You can deploy Windows 11 fresh all day long, through OSD, for example, in a VM on a device that does not technically support Windows 11. Once that VM tries to update, well, those update experience indicators that you mentioned, if they aren't all happy, it will never be offered to that device. So absolutely, I have seen that as well.
Yeah, I mean, those are fairly quick to check. It's just a registry, and that they will basically tell you if it's not happy, and it will tell you the reason it's not happy. Could also be these guys. If you do have a gated lock ID on the device, I have never seen that on a VM, but I guess if you have an app that is blocked, you can technically get it on a VM also, but I just haven't seen it. So yeah, start here, follow up with this one. Yeah.
All right. So Matt's asking, when you try to check Intune policy by the log, are you checking the policy name or policy ID? And what is the best log to check?
Into policies, I usually don't troubleshoot much from the client. It's usually checking them from the portal, but you can obviously see the values in the registry. Possibly the SyncML tool can help from Oliver. Figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
The event log have a couple of events for policy syncs. 208 is one of them. Yeah, the diagnostics report you can run as well. I actually stumbled across a pretty good blog post here. I can go ahead and share. Haven't seen this one before, but it does cover it pretty well. Explain the flows of things, what to look for in the portal, and how to generate that report. You can also run that from the Access Work in School or from Oliver's tool that I mentioned. He also has a shortcut to run these reports. Yeah, so start there. Oliver's tool that I mentioned here is pretty good. I've showcased this a few times here. I think this is the latest version. But this one in the actions option, it does have shortcuts to call these things also. So, handle the tool.
Absolutely. Great tip.
All right.
All right. I see an update here from different Dan. Our Intune package enrollment has now enrolled 4,000 devices. Now need to set primary users and set the extended attribute to target them. That's awesome, Dan. Great progress. I know that you guys have been working on Intune for a little while now, so it's got to be exciting to see that many devices enrolled in your organization. First of many steps to get to Intune management. Get your device enrolled. Matt's asking, what is the best reader for DLL files?
Well, it depends on the compiler, but there are several decompilers out there. You just have to be careful what you are decompiling, because vendors usually have a restriction on what you're allowed to do. So technically, if you start decompiling stuff, you might be breaking a license agreement. They probably won't go after you for it, but still, you would be violating those agreements. The most commonly used one that I used had for must be a decade now is .peak from JetBrains. It's been around for a long time. I saw Rudy recently post something about that. It was an upcoming, if he did like a video about it, or I just saw it the other day showing up in my feed.
Huh.
Did you happen to find it?
No, I have not. You said you thought maybe Rudy?
Specifically.
Yes, I think I found it.
Yeah, I did too. See if it shows up nicely here. Nope. Without dash history. Yeah, this one. Yeah, he was also using .pic here. So. The one I had, that was a commercial license. I don't know if there's a free license available, but it's a very common decompiler. But please note, it won't be able to decompile everything. It's up to how it's written.
Yep. All right. Rick over on LinkedIn mentioned, as a follow-up to policy issues, one way that he's fixed clients that don't seem to get all of their client policies when mixed with GPO is a PowerShell script. So pretty simple script that's been out there for a while. Basically check to see if registry.pol or .pol exists, and if so, remove it. And then once you update group policy, that will recreate that policy file on your device. That was something I ended up running into pretty regularly when first moving over to moving the Windows Update workload over to Intune. So great tip, Rick. Thank you. And then Dan had a follow-up comment here on forcing an upgrade using Windows ISO and setupprep.exe. Have you used that one before, Johan?
No, I have not. In environments where I needed, like lab environments primarily, when I needed to run an upgrade anyway, I usually just put in the bypass registry keys that allow you to override that. Niehaus made a blog post about that a little while ago, regarding which values that still work and which one that doesn't, because I've done some changes over the years. And Microsoft removed the documentation recently as well. But long story short, find that key. Let's see. That was not what I was looking for. But I know a guy. Somewhere I know a guy. That one sounds promising. Allow upgrades. So this one still works. And not for production, just for testing.
Yes.
I thought that one was mentioned in eHouse post, but I must have. Nope. I could swear he blogged about it. He did, but a different blog post.
Ah,
But yeah, it's not a good idea, but for lab and test, by all means, do so.
yep.
Yeah.
All right. Question over here on YouTube. What do you recommend to use for reference image creation? And the follow-up to that, not interested in using ConfigMgr because it's overkill. Not interested in using MDT because it's deprecated. Anything, extending that with PSD or any other solutions that you might recommend?
I mean, either buy a commercial solution that has that feature in it. PSD currently does not. We have discussed adding it in, but really behind the scenes, PSD is still leveraging the MDT sequence. So if you don't use MDT at all, well, probably not gonna like PSD either. So basically, look around and see what the different vendors offer out there. If you don't want to use Microsoft, pick something else. The only other solution is to develop something on your own. It's not terribly complicated to write a couple of PowerShell scripts that will run sysprep on the device and turn it off, and then another to start up a boot image and capture that VM. What I like about the MDT and ConfigMgr platforms is they've been around for a long time, and they do their work well. And I mean, the image doesn't really care too much who created it. But sure enough, you can do Jurassic deployment, as I call it. But you can write your own scripts that deploys Windows and do things. But why are you reinventing the wheel when there are well-tested solutions that you can buy? Probably be cheaper in the long run anyway. Yeah.
See, Rick suggested Acronis or Ghost.
Ghost, I probably would not. It was great. Don't get me wrong. It was great 20 years ago. It really was.
Such fond memories.
Yeah. 30 years ago, even.
Yeah. Yep. And Mike, I should reference his shameless plug here of using Deploy R, another commercial solution from 2Pint.
Yeah, he's good that way. Terrible. Fun fact, I'm actually about to start testing that platform to see. Start to testing it, that platform.
Excellent. Looking forward to that.
It's on my to-do list.
Awesome. Well, on that note,
Funny, yeah.
Awesome. Some good comments here to round out the evening.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, speaking of evening, it is 5:30.
Yeah, that went quick.
Good Lord, yeah. There was a final question coming in from Matt regarding can you sign Intune for device?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that there are device-based licenses, if that's the question. If you're talking about apps, yeah, they can absolutely be assigned to device groups or groups with devices in them. So, yeah. But fantastic. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And we certainly hope to see you again next week. Same time, same channel. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great one.